Hey, welcome to the Little Book Stories. This is a 10 episode series that is an overflow from the 10 chapters of my little book of Big Reasons to Love America. This one is dedicated to chapter 8, which is focused on family values as this sort of core strength of America, of society, and I learned so much from it, and it changed my life in such profound ways that I wanted to share some of the stories with you. I hope you like it, and if you like it and you haven't bought the book, go buy the book, buy an extra copy for your friends. Here we go. Hey, if you enjoy my podcast, you're going to love my weekly newsletter. Every week, I share strategies for success and significance because, let's be honest, who doesn't want both? We're talking life-changing wisdom that has transformed my life and the lives of people I've coached all over the world. You can start with the free version, but if you upgrade to the paid version, you'll unlock exclusive perks like early access to my monthly webinars, interviews with top experts, and even a signed copy of my book. Subscribe at christianrayflores.com. Your future self will thank you. So I was 14 years old when my parents divorced. And, I keep thinking about this. I've lived through a military coup, through a civil war in Africa, through, the fall of the Soviet Union, tanks in the streets in Russia. And the thing that really broke me is family, actually, right? I was so crushed when my parents got divorced. I was 14. It took me a few years to sort of even get used to the idea. But then I was raised from 14 on by a single mom, and we were in the Soviet Union, and things were sort of grim and gray and mediocre, let's say, not a lot of upward mobility, things like that. I find that if you want a strong life, you really need a strong family. And I realized by the time I was reaching my peak in my music career, I was famous, I was crushing it professionally, that I didn't have a strong life anyway, right? And what happened is I was dating girls back to back, and I didn't know what to do with that. I was sabotaging every relationship I had because I was so afraid of commitment, because I basically sort of had this impossible cycle, right? I wanted to be loved. I wanted to build a family. I believed in it. I craved it. But at the same time, this other voice told me, you're going to get married and you're going to have kids, and then you're going to get divorced, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's inevitable. And that's sort of what the thing was, right? And it was just an impossible cycle, irreconcilable, right? You want love, but you can't allow yourself to be loved or to commit. And of course, fame didn't help at all. And because, obviously there's millions of young ladies who are interested in somebody like me, not really me, but in the persona, right? They have posters on their walls, things like that. That's even more confusing, right? So it was just hard for me. And at the peak of my career, I was dating this girl, and she was beautiful, runway model. I was sort of a walking cliche because I thought I'm supposed to only date beautiful people that belong on magazine covers with me. And I got terrified. She got pregnant. We had a baby. I was terrified, and I was terrible with her. I really, really was. And she left, cut me off, and I lose my daughter. And I was just clinically depressed. I was literally had a number one hit at the time, and I didn't know how to breathe. Like it was bad. It was really, really bad. And sometimes you need to hit a rock bottom to realize you need help, and you have a weakness that needs to be sort of reworked, I guess. And for me, I was so lucky, so lucky to meet my first coach, my mentor. He was this missionary. I think I mentioned him in my previous episodes. He was a Canadian missionary in Moscow, and he had a great marriage. And basically, I reworked my whole worldview about that, right? And I started over. I was an apprentice, right? And I just wanted to I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be good at, I can be good at many things. At some things I'm extraordinary at, clearly. I'm succeeding. But none of this matters. None of this stands really if I can't build a family. And I sort of, there had like a switch went off, right? Okay, I'm going to focus on family. And I sort of reconfigured my whole worldview. I retrained myself with the help of people and scripture and mentorship and community. And I learned from people. I was sitting at the feet of people who have good marriages. And luckily I had access to people like that. And then eventually I was like, okay, I think I believe in marriage. I don't want to meet somebody. And who is she, right? So I would go on dates, and it wasn't a fit for whatever reason. And I dated somebody shortly, very, very carefully, very respectfully. And then that didn't work out. And then I was invited to go speak and perform at this conference in Los Angeles. And it was this conference for Christians in show business, right? From all over the world. It was so cool. I mean, some people that were super famous were there. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're a believer as well. And I was just so inspired. And then they had this almost like pre-conference mixer for people who were speakers, right? And this club in Hollywood called the Upside Down Club. And in this mixer, this girl comes up to me, and she has this clipboard. She's all business-like, has a walkie-talkie. And she's one of the organizers. Her name's Deb. And she goes, okay, so, hey, Christian, I want to take notes. I need some info so we introduce you during the performance. So, do you have any albums, videos, just tell us something that we can introduce you with. So I did give her some information, but I had this like, like it's almost like a radar goes off, bing, bing, bing. And I'm looking at her, and she's petite and beautiful, and looks me right in the eye and has this big smile. She's very confident. And, I'm like, who is this? And she was walking away. I'm like, hey, wait, tell me about yourself, right? So she told me a little bit, and I, of course, at that time, I already had people who were setting me up with dates because everybody wanted me married. My friends wanted me to locked in, right, with a good woman. So they were setting me up with dates. I had 2 dates set up by somebody, like blind dates. I think I knew one girl, sort of, right? And I saw Deb, and I mean, it's probably a bad thing, but I, went to the people that set me up with dates and asked them to cancel those dates because I wanted to go out with her, and I only had like this much time. So Deb and I, got a micro date between a sound check and a performance. Like we went sound check, drive to the hotel, quick meal. I will go up and change, quick meal, drive back. That's the date, right? With a friend who was driving us around. And I was like, okay, there's something there. And of course, there's the show. She's backstage doing stuff, and I'm hanging out with her, taking a picture of her, and she's just wonderful. And then I had like one day on Sunday, and I said, hey, would you go to Universal Studios with me and hang out? And she said yes. So we spent the whole day at Universal Studios, and she took me to the airport, and I was basically heading to New York. I was going to spend a few days in New York after that. And she gave me this hug that's just a little bit, lasts a little bit longer, like 1 second longer at the airport. And I'm like, I think she likes me. And, I was so clueless, so insecure maybe that I didn't notice that before. Like, obviously she wanted to hang out with me, but there's something more there. So I'd taken a lot of footage because I was with a camera hanging out, taking pictures and video of stuff. So, and this was before phone cameras, right? It was just a camera. So in the plane, I watched footage of her in, different clips of her until the battery died. So, I was like, I don't know, there's something there, love at first sight, right? So, and I told her I was going to call her from New York. And she later told me, yeah, right, you're going to call me from New York. And I did. So I called every day from New York, and then I went back to Moscow. And this was pre high speed internet. There was like dial up. Skype didn't exist. Phone calls were super expensive. So I emailed her every day, every single day until she moved to Moscow. So I was very persistent. She came and visited first, and then she came back, sold everything, and moved to Moscow. And it was just so cool. And this time around, I'm sharing this. I love sharing this story because I've been now married for 25 years, happily married. We have 3 children. I got my oldest daughter that I lost. I got her back. I love sharing this story because it is, I think, the most important thing in life is to have a strong family, and then you'll have a strong life. And if you don't have a strong family, it's very hard to have a strong life, right? And I desperately wanted that to change for me, and I felt so inadequate in the beginning, like I just have no idea how to do that. And now I'm very confident, and I've taught in marriage retreats all over the place, and I've mentored many couples in marriage, and I'm so grateful, right? And but the foundation of that, and I'll actually reference you to a video with more specifics about that if you want to find out at the end here. But the foundation of that was humility, apprenticeship, being with someone who knows what they're talking about, who is modeling that for you, and humility. Like, okay, just listen to the people who know what they're talking about. And it changed me forever. And then it didn't stop. And that's sort of an important piece because, we were still dating. She moved to Moscow, and we would get with this couple to whom I'm indebted for the rest of my life. Seriously, it's a mixed couple, American Russian as well, and we'd get with them every other week, the months before we actually got married, and talked about our relationship. So it's premarital counseling. And then after we got married, it didn't stop either. So for another, I think almost 2 years, we kept doing that. And that foundation of humility, guidance, apprenticeship built such a powerful baseline for us in our marriage that we've been riding that wave ever since, right? And there've been good times and bad times, but we've never really descended under sort of like our marriage has been at worst good and most of the time great, right? And I know that it's not that easy, it's not that simple, it's not for everybody. I know that. I'm just saying this is my story. And this is my story after 3 generations of broken homes, after levels of inadequacy and lack of ability to build a family that are just off the charts. And if I can do it, you can do it, right? And if you are a successful, ambitious person, I want to plead with you to never do it at the expense of your family, right? Because you will never regret giving more time to your family than giving more time to your business. Now, I got my oldest daughter back through a miraculous story that I won't even go to here because, for lack of time. And then we had 2 more kids, 2 more girls. So we have 3 daughters. And, and before that, let me tell you about the wedding. So the wedding was, very public, let's put it that way. We sort of debated, okay, I'm sort of a public person and I want to be able to inspire people, but also I'm an introvert and I don't really enjoy crowds very much. But the voices of wisdom prevailed. So we had 1,800 people in our wedding ceremony, right? It's just crazy. And we had like 2 rows of accredited press from magazines and other places like that. And it was pretty epic, right? And there was, I don't know, maybe 150 in the reception. And as a matter of fact, we had, a couple of photographers that were helping us sort of take stills. And then we would somebody would give us a magazine. Hey, your wedding is in this magazine. Would open the magazine, and their pictures were better than our pictures. And so we had to track down the reporters and get those pictures from them. And then some of them had the audacity to actually have to say, well, you have to buy it from me. This was my wedding. Seriously, you can't give me a copy, but it's okay. So we bought it from them. And so we have this sort of very mixed bag of photographs from our wedding still. But 25 years later, we are just so happy, right? In a strong family. And I really believe this is how you get a strong life, an impactful life, a happy life, a life that can sustain you in the long run, especially if you're this sort of me, I'm very ambitious, hyper, motivated to do stuff. And that derails people's lives quite a bit at the expense of the family. And what I decided to do, especially after we moved to the States, the girls were already, more than toddlers, is that I would never pursue anything that would physically take me away for any significant time away from my wife and my children. because I only have 18 years with them total. As a matter of fact, I think there's a study that shows that cumulatively, you will spend after your children, if they leave the home just in a traditional way, let's say at 18, for the rest of your life, altogether, you will spend 1 year with them. That's it. So if you're not present with them the first 18 years, you've missed out already. Like, you can't really compensate for that. And one of the most proudest things I've done in my life, and I have quite a few things that I'm really proud of in life, professionally, personally, etc. But the most important thing, my highest achievement, is that I've never compromised family. And I've been present throughout the 18 years. All of my girls are out of the house now, but I've missed nothing. No recital, not one birthday, not one significant event of any kind. I've missed nothing. Both Deb and I were there in their lives the whole time. And that leaves a powerful legacy, and almost like an imprint in them of how loved they are by both mom and dad. It leaves sort of this sense of presence and like a baseline of confidence in your children. That's legacy, right? It's good to leave your kids wealth. It's really, really good, actually. I'm actually not that good at it. I want to get better at it. But I think the ultimate wealth is the wealth of how they think of themselves and how they see the world around them, and how they fit into that world, how they show up for the rest of the world. And all three of them are just extremely different and unique, but all three of them are just fantastic human beings, okay? And they're thriving, and they're, hitting walls just like everybody else, but they're overcoming those obstacles. And I really do believe that part of the reason why they're so successful in life is because of what we instilled in them, and we were there for them. Their whole life up to adulting, right, where they leave the nest and they live their own lives and shape their own destinies. So if you want a strong life, you need to have a strong family. That's it. So I'm going to leave somewhere on the screen a link to my 17 secrets to a happy marriage. This is a video I did a while ago, but it's sort of a good one because it's very, very quick. And there's snapshots of the moves that I've made that I think build a happy marriage. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please come back for new chapters, new episodes. Thank you for reading my book. If you haven't read it yet, go get it. Go get it for a friend. Thank you again.